Good morning, Octopus. So our maths learning today is about tenths and hundredths. So we are looking at fractions. We have done this before, so it's a bit of a recap. So you're going to have a video to watch, which I've emailed you the link for this morning. And remember, if you have any questions, you can just email myself. The first thing I want you to do is the starter you can see on the page. There are 4 questions that will recap your previous learning, so have a go at them to warm up your brains. Okay, the 4 questions are here. There is also a clock in the corner, so if you want an extra challenge, thinking about another of our topics, time, what time is on the clock? Okay, so if you need to complete your starter, pause your video now and you can do so. Otherwise, let's move on to our learning. So today we are looking at recognising tenths and hundredths and being able to partition a fraction into tenths and hundredths. So our anchor will be learning what a tenth is, or remembering what a tenth is, and our key vocabulary is fraction, tenth, decimal point, decimal number and hundredth. So what is a tenth? A tenth is a whole shape split into 10 equal parts. So 1/10 would be one part of a shape that is split into 10, and we would represent that with our numerator, which is the top number of our fraction, being a 1, and our denominator being 10. Remember that our numerator tells us how many parts are shaded, or how many we are dealing with, and the denominator, the bottom number, tells us how many equal parts there are all together. So 1/10 is a unit fraction. All of the other fractions are called non-unit fractions because the numerator is bigger than 1. We are dealing with more than one part. So, having a look at these questions on our flip chart, question 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal parts. And I'll give you a little clue because we are dealing with tenths. All of our shapes today are split into 10 equal parts on our anchor task. So question 1, I can see that 4 parts are shaded. So the fraction represented is 4 because our numerator tells us how many parts are shaded, and our denominator is 10. So number 1 is 4/10. Okay, number 2, we are still dealing with 10 equal parts, and I can see, if I count them up, that 8 parts are shaded. So my fraction would be 8/10. See if you can work out the other 4 in your head now. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, so looking at hundredths then, this is a hundredths Dean square. So there are 100 small squares in this Dean square. Each square is 1 out of 100 equal squares. So 1 square of this 100 square would represent the fraction 1. What do you think our denominator is going to be? How many parts are there all together? There are 100. So each square represents 100. Now, if I was dealing with an entire row of my 100 square, that would be a different fraction altogether. How many rows do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each row is 1 out of 10 equal rows. So each row represents 1, and our denominator this time will be 10. However, there is an equivalent fraction that one row also represents, as well as being 1/10. Think about each equal box, each hundredth. How many hundredths have I shaded by this yellow box here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it also represents 10 hundredths. Okay, you may need that in your Platinum Challenge today. So, for silver today, I'd like you to complete question 1 on your worksheet. So there are 4 parts of this question, A, B, C and D, and they're all dealing with the hundredths Dean square. And the questions say something like, what fraction of each hundredth square is shaded? So I've given an example here, and I've shaded in 4 equal rows. Okay, so I know that there are 10 rows in each hundredth square. So I know my denominator is going to be 10 because there's 10 altogether. And I have shaded in 4 of them. Okay, but I also know that I can make a different fraction here because I could split my Deans into each equal block into hundredths. So I know that I've shaded in 10, 20, 30, 40 hundredths. 40, and my denominator hundredths. What if I shaded 3 more? I would not be able to represent my answer as tenths because I've not got 4 full rows anymore. I've got a partial row formed, so I wouldn't be able to have an answer that used tenths. I'd only be able to answer in hundredths. Now I know I've got 40 there because I've got 4 rows of 10, and I've got 3 more, 41, 42, 43. So my answer here would be 43 hundredths. Okay, as I say, there's 4 questions to be getting on with there for silver. Some of them have full rows and some of them have partial rows. So think about how you can answer the question. For gold today, you are dealing with questions 2 and 3. So here are some examples. Here is a hundredth square. What fraction of the whole does each represent? So if I shaded in 3 full rows, 1, 2, 3, what fraction am I representing? So you could tell me that in 2 different ways. So you could give me 2 equivalent fractions. What about if I only shaded in 12 squares? So I know that that's 10 squares, and I'm going to shade in 2 more. So what fraction does that represent? And what about 2 full rows and 2 squares? So 2 full rows and 2 squares. Now I know I could only answer that using hundredths because I've not got 3 full rows. So I know I've got 10, 20, 21, 22 as my numerator, and I have 100 equal parts altogether. Your second set of questions says complete the sentence. 3/10 is equivalent to how many hundredths? So again, looking at your your Deans, if you were to shade in 3/10, so if I've got 10 rows, I'm shading in 3 of them. How many hundredths have I shaded in? So now you need to look at each square individually and count how many you have shaded in to find the answer. Finally, for platinum, You are looking at questions 4, 5, 6 and 7. So, question 4 is a little bit tricky, and I just want to check your understanding of these words. We have the word column and we have the word row. A column travels down a shape, and a row travels along a shape. So when you are looking at this question here, make sure you understand what the word column means and the word row. And you are explaining your answer, so you are reasoning and problem solving for platinum. Question 5, you need to choose which representation shows 23 hundredths being shaded. And question 6, completing the part-whole models. So when you are doing this question, please be nice and neat in your book. We don't need huge circles, but you need to think about equivalent fractions. So this fraction here, your whole model, is 23 hundredths, and it's been split into 2/10. Well, what's 2/10 equivalent to? Could you change that to a hundredth? And then you need to find the missing number. And the same in the other questions, we have split our number into tenths and hundredths, so you need to think about your place value of each number in the whole number at the top. Finally, question 7, who is correct, Annie or Ron? So you need to think about the different ways you could partition 73 hundredths. So if you used a part-whole model to split 73 hundredths, could Annie be right? Could Ron be right? Could they both be right? You need to explain your answer. If you have any queries today, or you can't find any of the resources you need, then please email me and let me know. I hope this has helped.